Good morning, everybody, all over the entire earth. How are y'all doing today? Everybody in India, Belgium, Portugal, Russia, China, Thailand, Canada, Mexico, Argentina, Brazil, etc., USA included, and Canada, of course. How are y'all doing today? This is Rusty 78609. I'm in Central Texas, USA. It is 10:12 a.m. and it is Thursday, February the 8th, 2017. I'm on Park Road 4 again, going to get some gasoline at Wally World, Walmart for you new guys. And also for you new guys, I full-time RV'd for 20 years. I'm 71 years old. And now I go camping in my Toyota Prius. I've done that for the last 4 years. So if you're interested in RVing or camping in a car, check out my playlist on my channel homepage. Also, to get the housekeeping out of the way, all of you great supporters of my channel, I do appreciate it. Thank you very much. And now on with this viral video. What do I have to talk about today? Nothing. Not a damn thing. Oh goodness, I'm just taking a drive and I was talking to myself, so I thought, well, I might as well be talking to somebody else. Got me some dark chocolate almonds and some green tea, and life ain't bad. The high today up in Central Texas is supposed to be 70. She almost turned right into me. But you got no manners? Anyway, it's supposed to be 70 today, and then it'll stay around this range for the next few days. 70s and 40s for lows, 70 Fahrenheit for highs, 75. And it'll float back and forth in that area, and we may get one more little cool front, and then we'll get into spring by the 1st of March, or before, because it's February the 8th now. Anyway, I was planning a trip to the Austin Convention Center next week, next Friday, for the RV and Boat Show. It's an annual event, and they draw quite a crowd. I mean, on Saturdays and Sundays, you can't even get in the door. I'm going to go on Friday morning, I think. And I was looking at Google Maps, trying to figure a way to get around the toll roads in Austin, because believe me, they got them everywhere, and it's hard to avoid them. And if you miss the last exit, you are screwed, because you will automatically get a bill from whoever runs the toll roads that's tied in with the state of Texas, and you cannot avoid that bill, because if you don't pay it, you can't renew your license in Texas. That's a fact. So I'm looking for a way to avoid it. And then also I got to thinking about, whenever you get, I haven't been in a city to spend any time in a long time. And I have forgotten that you have to scramble for parking spots, and you have to pay a fee for parking everywhere. You've either got a parking meter that you have to feed with coins, or you have a parking garage that you feed with your credit card, or you go to the convention center and use their parking area, and then they really rob you. They only charge you, like, for a senior to get in to the convention center for this event is $4. They give you a whole dollar off if you're over age 65. And so assuming, and assumption is the mother of all mistakes, everybody knows that. But assuming that I can get there on a reasonable time, they start at 10 next Friday morning at 10 a.m. And assuming that I can get there 10-ish, around 10:15-ish, because I don't want to get there any earlier, because the traffic going in on 35 going into Austin from the way I would come from Georgetown, Texas into Austin would be horrendous. It's that way, I'm told, until about 9 or 9:30 in the morning, and then it thins out pretty good. So I'll try to arrive in Georgetown about 9:30, and that should put me at the convention center, assuming everything goes okay, about 10 or about 10. And that would be great. And then I'll spend that half a day there or so and leave around 3, so I beat the traffic coming back out again, because it's horrible both ways. So I'll have to be, my window of opportunity will be from 10 a.m. approximately to 3 p.m. approximately. So I'll have 5 hours to accomplish all of my objectives, which are none. Do a few videos, check them out. I'm going to focus probably a little more on some of the smaller RVs than the larger RVs, because the audience that I have on my channel seems to be more in tune with living or camping a little cheaper than most. I haven't had many people ask about a Prevost motorhome, and nor have I had many people inquire about the high dollar Class A motorhomes. So with that in mind, I will try to appeal to my target audience and check out those RV and boats. I'll check out boats too. And for my audience, it'll be canoes and inflatable rafts and inner tubes. I'm just joking with you guys. You know what I mean. Come on, you guys. You remember the cartoons Rocky and Bullwinkle? Well, they did a cartoon one time about this university called Wassamata U. It's spelled Wassamata, Wassamata U. Wassamata University. But anyway, at Wassamata U, they had a losing football team for over 100 seasons, and they were looking for a coach to bring them a winning football team. But anyway, what it was a study in a little tongue-in-cheek about how universities across our nation spend millions or hundreds of millions on establishing a good football and athletic program, while spending very small amounts on science and math and other areas. If you don't believe me, you got to go see the football stadium at the University of Texas and at Texas A&M University also. They are huge. Huge. Is that money misspent? Well, in my money, scratch, cut, in my opinion, which is worth what you're paying for it, nothing, in my humble opinion, that money could be redirected to appealing to students to try to get them interested in science and math, because that's where the jobs are now. You know what I mean? How many football players go into the pros from college? 1%, maybe. Same way for baseball and basketball and all the rest of them. Golf, all of them. Very, 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 very few. So what do? They probably try to find coaching jobs. I guess that's all they can do. Or teach biology. That's what most coaches do. They either teach biology or history and coach. And there'll be, for a football team, a AA football team, I taught in school in Texas one time at a 2A high school, a small one. And they had, believe it or not, they had 11 coaches. Well, they had one head coach, and then all the rest of them were assistants. And it occurred to me then, I even brought it up in a teacher meeting with the superintendent and the principal, that if all the teachers had 11 assistants, then we could have some winning students too. But that didn't go very far. Didn't go very far at all, actually. In fact, they fired me. I got to tell you about that. I got fired from teaching at a high school in Refugio, Texas. And the reason I did, I was in the alternative teacher certification program. I had just come back from the U.S. Peace Corps, and I had some what I thought were good ideas. And I was I wasn't a great teacher. I was okay. I mean, I tried, and I really did, because I taught special ed. It was called behavior modification, which was total crap. It was an illusion. How do you modify somebody's behavior in basically 8 months, roughly 6 months? Yeah, because you get 3 months off of the summer. Well, no, 9 months. Anyway, enough said about that. But anyway, I ask a lot of questions, and you just don't question authority too long, particularly in a small community, because they'll run your ass right out of town. And I didn't go to church. That was a strike against me. And, I taught my students what I thought was helpful to them. In other words, for example, they had very poor math skills, very poor. So I focused a lot on math skills. And the way I would get them to do math is, since they really weren't interested in a lot of the teaching methods used in public schools for teaching math, it occurred to me to appeal to these kids' interest. And what were they interested in? Well, they were interested in dealing drugs, because that's where they could make the most money. Well, I didn't help them deal drugs, but what I did was I said, okay, guys, let's just assume, first of all, they had to know what a kilo was. Well, they did. It's 2.2 pounds. They knew that, pow. And they also knew how to cut it up into nickel bags and dime bags. All right. But anyway, we got to talking about that, and the way I would get them interested in math is I'd say, okay, let's just say you bought a key in Nuevo Laredo for whatever, I just pick a number, $200, and you cut it up into a certain number of dime bags or nickel bags, and how much would you make? And so they'd have to figure that out. But they were interested in that, and they would ask my help. They'd say, well, what do you do here? How do you do this? And then we would graduate to other things, like I took them to the grocery store and showed them how to look for bargains and how to read labels. And of course, I got chastised horribly by the administration for that, particularly about using drugs as an example. That was just totally out. And anyway, they accused my kids, my boys. There was one girl and 5 or 6 guys that were regular students. Some of them passed in and out. All of them were on probation, every one of them, for a variety of crimes, mainly dope. But one girl the girl in my class was from the middle school, and she had pulled a knife on the teacher. That's what they said. But what she told me, and it could be true, I don't know. But what she said was she had it in her purse, and she pulled it out to give it to the teacher to put in her desk until class was over. But anyway, the teacher says she pulled the knife out of the purse and threatened her, So, there's a big gap there. But anyway, she was a very intelligent young lady, very outspoken, very artistic, and she did a lot of artwork for me, and the other students did too. I got them interested in art. And anyway, the administration decided that was graffiti or gang writing, and destroyed all of the artwork that they had done. Totally destroyed it, all of it. I had a wall of honor that must have had 200 8.5 by 11 sheets of artwork on it, drawn by all the students at a variety of times, because I told them if they did something worthy, that I would put it on the wall of honor. The ceiling in that room was 10 feet high. There were some little windows that started at the top, and it was as long as the classroom, and the classroom was about 30 feet. It was a storage room that they allowed me to use as a classroom. And anyway, so the wall of honor, of course, anything they did qualified for the Wall of Honor. I had one student that was moderately mentally retarded named Joseph. He was about 6'5" and weighed about 250 pounds, 16 years old, black kid. And every day he'd walk up to me and he'd say, He'd say, "Why are you here?" Really got in my head, Joseph. But be that as it may, he did some artwork. It looked like crap. Couldn't even tell what it was. He was so proud of it, he couldn't stop grinning when he brought it up to me. And I immediately put it on the Wall of Honor. And you couldn't have wiped the smile off that kid's face with a sledgehammer. But anyway, they all got to where they liked me. In schools at that time, probably still, you have to, when the bell rings and the kids are changing classrooms, you would stand out in the hall and monitor the kids, so to speak. But anyway, when I first started teaching, my kids disappeared. They'd go where they wanted to go. But after about 3 or 4 months, they were all standing right there beside me. Yeah, and we'd talk, and then we'd go back in the classroom, or they'd go to the restroom or whatever. And that's that story. But anyway, I got fired because I asked a lot of questions. One of them was, why do we have lockers? I thought that was a good question. And why do the students have to go? Why do the students change classrooms? Because when I was in Mongolia, what happened was the students came into the room, and the books for the day were already in their desk. And all their classes were in that one room. And when the bell, which was not a bell, it was just a little smooth little whistle thing that you could barely hear, whenever it made a noise, they could go to the restroom or do whatever for a few minutes, and then they'd come back and they would start the next class, whatever that happened to be. Well, that just kept several hundred students from mingling around in the hall and racing to another place. And what happened was the teacher closed their briefcase and went to another classroom. So instead of having 1,000 students running all over the place, you would have 20 teachers, moving to a different classroom. Genius. Well, they didn't think it was genius in Refugio, Texas in 1997. I guarantee you that. In fact, the teachers thought it was stupid. I know I've talked about this before, but the teachers said it was crazy. I mean, they would say, what about all of my posters and all my plants and all my stuff that I have in my classroom? And I explained, this is not your house. This is a classroom where students are supposed to learn. But anyway, having said that, I met one day in the hall Mr. Freeman, the principal, and he said they were going to have to ask for my resignation. And I said, well, go ahead and ask. He just laughed. And I said, well, are you asking? And he said, yeah. I said, okay. The answer is no. He didn't know what to say then. Because, see, teachers can be held, you know what I mean? They can drag a school district into court real easy. But anyway, I didn't. I just voluntarily resigned. I wasn't that good a teacher, and I wasn't very good in that system at all, as you can tell by some of the comments I've already made. And having said that, I'm at Walmart here getting ready to get some gasoline. So thumbs up, carpe diem, adios, bye-bye, buy USA made when you can, drink plenty of water, take deep breaths, because it does relieve stress. Stretch, 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 walk, 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 keep your health, and we'll go to the Austin Convention Center next week, and hopefully I can find a place to park that's pretty cheap, and I don't get mugged or somebody beat the crap out of me going to and from the convention center. But anyway, you guys have a good day. Adios. Oh, bye-bye.